even easier to forget, help me out and hit that like button if you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening somewhere else, what the hell? Pop in and give me a thumb. Say hi while you're at it. Helps me a ton with that damn algorithm. And besides, it's always nice to see you there. All right then, let's hop on that crazy train. All aboard! Oh, shit. Hey, welcome back, friend. We've got plenty to celebrate today, and I'm glad to have you with me. First off, it's National Kitten Day. Ain't that adorable? And it's also World Kebab Day. So Chester here decided to celebrate with kitten kebabs. And I gotta say, they're not quite as adorable like that. You're disgusting, Chester. You do realize our audience is like 65% crazy cat ladies, don't you? Despicable. Anyway, come on in, friend. Who am I to judge amphibian culture? Alright. So, you know by now what's been going on. Listen where you'd like to listen. I'm tired of busting balls. And if you'd like to get all the material ad-free and downloadable from all the way back in 2012, visit chillingtalesfordarknights.com and click the patrons link in the menu. You'll get special access for as little as $7.99 a month. Also, feel free to visit me over at patreon.com/trueblood. I've had a few new audiobook releases. Most recently, an anthology called Very Dark Thoughts, and one by T.W. Grimm called 99 Brief Scenes from the End of the World. All my patrons get free promo codes for any of my audiobooks, just throwing that out there. So tonight's story is one of my own. In it, we join two good friends with a powerful hankering for some Cool Ranch Doritos. And like most of us, when you're having a hankering that bad, you'll go to hell and back to get it. So, without further delay, I proudly present to you, by yours truly, The Road to El Dorito. The idea came to July Whitney the way most of his ideas did, like a lightning bolt to a tin roof, sudden and stupid and impossible to ignore. He was sitting in the sagging lawn chair on his front porch, the one with the busted armrest he had been meaning to fix since the Obama administration, watching fireflies blinking the tree line like God's own Christmas lights. The woods around his property were deep and dark and went on for about 6 miles in every direction before you hit anything resembling civilization. 6 miles of oak trees and dirt roads, and the occasional deer corpse that Gus's hound dog Tammy Jean had dragged halfway somewhere and then abandoned, the way Gus's hound dog Tammy Jean abandoned everything, including famously any sense of self-preservation. July was drinking a warm bush because the fridge had stopped working again, and he was doing that thing he did sometimes when he stared at nothing. The crickets were singing. The bullfrogs down by the creek were doing their low, mournful thing. The night smelled like oak trees and distant rain. And then, like a vision from on high, the thought arrived fully formed and radiant. Cool Ranch Doritos. Not just any Doritos. Cool Ranch. The blue bag. The chosen ones. The triangular angels of snack divinity that when you bit into one, tasted like someone had figured out the exact flavor of yes and compressed it into corn chips. July sat up straight in his lawn chair, which groaned in protest. He hadn't had Cool Ranch Doritos in, he counted back, at least 3 weeks, maybe 4, because the last time he'd been to the store he had accidentally bought the nacho cheese instead. He'd been distracted by a display of fishing lures shaped like frogs, and had eaten them in a sulky, joyless manner while watching a documentary about volcanoes. Nacho cheese was fine. Nacho cheese was perfectly acceptable, but Cool Ranch Doritos were transcendent. Cool Ranch Doritos were what Nacho Cheese wanted to be when it grew up. He needed them. He needed them tonight. July reached across the porch railing and knocked on the window of the adjacent property, which was about 4 feet away from his own window, because July and his best friend Gus Pickett had built their 2 cabins approximately the way a child builds with Legos, enthusiastically and without consulting any sort of plan. Gus's window slid open after a moment, and Gus's enormous sunburned, wonderfully uncomplicated face appeared in the gap. He was wearing a Dale Earnhardt Jr. sleep shirt and had the look of a man who had been half asleep watching something he couldn't explain on his phone.
"Why?"
said Gus. "Cool Ranch Doritos." Gus blinked. Something stirred behind his eyes, something ancient and hungry and deeply fundamentally American.
"Cool Ranch?"
"Blue bag. The store's open till midnight. It's 9:30. Gus stared at him for a long moment. Then he said,
"Give me 2 minutes to find my boots."
"Wear socks this time."
"I always wear socks."
"Last Tuesday you wore 2 left socks and a sandwich bag."
"It was raining,"
said Gus, and he closed the window. July's truck was a 1997 Ford F-150, the color of old ketchup or possibly new rust. It was hard to tell anymore since the two had achieved a kind of aesthetic unity over the years. The truck had 247,000 miles on it, a cracked dashboard that July had covered with a strip of duct tape that now had its own cracks in it, a passenger side mirror that showed you the sky instead of behind you because something had happened with the angle that neither man had bothered to fix, and a stereo system that received exactly 1 radio station, which was a gospel music station out of Hillsboro that only came in clearly between the hours of 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. for reasons that defied all known principles of physics. It also had tires that July had been meaning to replace since spring, but it was only 11 miles to Pap's Drive-In in Belmead, Texas, and the road was simple enough. Down the long dirt track through the Whitney property, then on the County Road 127, then a couple of turns and you were basically there. Easy, simple, a nothing errand, a pilgrimage really, a holy journey to retrieve the sacred blue bag.
"I'm thinking,"
said Gus as the truck bounced down the track,
"I might also get a Mountain Dew, the big one."
"The 42 ounce?
"The 42 ounce.
Bold."
"It's a bold night,"
said Gus, and he was right. The sky above the gaps in the trees was absolutely smothered in stars. A warm wind pushed through the oaks. The truck's headlights carved a yellow tunnel through the dark. "You know what I'm gonna do?" said July. "I'm gonna eat 'em in the truck on the way home. Not gonna wait. Just gonna open that bag right there in the parking lot and commence."
"That's the right call,"
said Gus solemnly.
"That's the correct call."
"I've been thinking about this for maybe 45 minutes, and I've earned it."
"You've absolutely earned it."
Gus paused.
"I might get 2 bags."
July looked at him. 2?
"One to eat on the way home, one for later."
Gus, that might be the smartest thing you've ever said."
"I've been peeking lately,"
Gus agreed. They emerged from the dirt track onto County Road 127, which was paved, but only in the way that roads become paved through repeated human insistence rather than any actual structural integrity. The asphalt was cracked and heaved and patched and re-cracked, with grass growing up through splits every 10 feet or so. There were no street lights out here, no houses visible through the trees, just the road and the dark and the stars overhead, and the occasional glint of an animal's eyes in the brush. The gospel station crackled to life on the radio mid-hymn.
"Well, that's a sign,"
said Gus. "What kind of sign?"
"A good one. A Dorito sign."
"Amen," said July. He pressed the gas a little harder. The truck responded with enthusiasm, the engine giving a low resonant roar that was either power or the early stages of mechanical failure. With this truck, it was honestly impossible to know. They drove on for a minute in companionable silence, and then the right rear tire exploded. It wasn't a slow leak.
Oh, dear God in heaven.
It wasn't a gentle diminishment of pressure that gave you time to react calmly and consult your hazard lights and pull over with dignity.
Hold on, Gus. Hold on.
It was a full, violent, catastrophic detonation. A bang that sounded like someone had fired a rifle inside the cab, followed by the immediate sensation of the truck's rear end swinging hard to the right like it was trying to fling itself into the trees.
Wow.
July wrestled the wheel left, then right, then left again, all while making a sound that wasn't quite a word. Gus grabbed the dashboard with both hands and planted both feet on the floor mat, as though he could physically stabilize the vehicle through personal commitment.
Watch out now. Watch it. Watch
The
it.
truck shuddered and slewed, and finally stopped. Half on the road and half in the gravel shoulder, with its nose pointed at roughly a 30-degree angle into the tree line. Silence. The gospel station sang softly. July and Gus sat perfectly still for a moment, both of them breathing hard, staring at the narrow tunnel of light the headlights were throwing into the dark oaks ahead.
Will?
Yep.
Tire?
Tar.
Back right?
Back right.
You said you was going to replace those tires.
I said I was thinking about replacing those tires. There's a difference.
There is a difference,
Gus agreed, nodding thoughtfully, as though they were having a philosophical discussion in a coffee shop rather than sitting in a broken-down truck in the pitch-black woods outside Waco at 10 o'clock at night.
That's a meaningful distinction.
Thank you. They both got out of the truck. The night was very, very dark out here. Between the tree cover and the distance from any town, the darkness had a texture to it, a thickness, like you could reach out and grab a handful of it. The headlamps threw everything directly ahead into sharp relief, but made everything to the sides even darker by contrast, and the woods on both sides of the road were an impenetrable wall of black. The right rear tire was completely destroyed. Not flat, destroyed. The rubber had come apart in long shreds that lay around the wheel well like shed snakeskin. The rim was sitting practically on the asphalt.
Got a spare?
Got a spare. It's under the bed. I'm pretty sure the spare's been on the truck since 2009.
A 2009 spare might still be good.
Might be. Get the flashlight out of the glove box while I get the jack. Gus leaned back into the cab and rummaged around in the glove box, which contained a 2018 registration, 17 ketchup packets, a rubber fishing worm, 3 corn nuts that had escaped from their bag at some unknown point in history, and a flashlight that, when Gus clicked it, produced a thin yellowish beam roughly equivalent in brightness to a candle in a cathedral.
This flashlight is bad.
It's got new batteries.
These are new batteries?
I put 'em in about 2 years ago.
That's not new.
Well, time is relative, said July from somewhere under the back of the truck. Gus came around to the rear and pointed the dying flashlight at the operation. July was flat on his back in the road, cranking at the mechanism that was supposed to lower the spare from underneath the truck bed. It's coming.
It is?
Slowly. It's coming slowly. A pause, during which the mechanism made several more alarming sounds. Gus.
What?
When we get to Doritos, I want you to know whatever happens tonight, I'm going to eat those Doritos, and I'm going to enjoy them, and nothing that occurs between now and then is going to take that from me.
That's real beautiful, July.
I mean it.
I know you do.
Gus crouched down to shine the flashlight more helpfully and noticed the beam flickering.
Hey, what time does the store close?
Midnight. Gus checked his phone.
It's 10:17.
We got time.
We got time,
Gus agreed.
Plenty of time.
He paused.
What if the spare's flat too?
Then we walk.
Walk? It's like 9 miles.
11, July corrected.
We can't walk 11 miles.
People walked across the entire continent, Gus. Hell, people walked from Missouri to Oregon in covered wagons.
Well, those people didn't have a choice.
We don't have a choice. There are Doritos at the end of this road, and I will walk to them if I have to. Gus was quiet for a moment.
I would probably walk for Doritos, he finally admitted. I wouldn't like it.
Nobody liked walking to Oregon neither. The spare finally came loose with a clunk, and July pulled it out from under the truck. He stood up and rolled it to the ruined tire. The spare was not flat. The spare was, however, what tire professionals would call concerning. It was a compact spare, the small temporary kind, the donut, with tread that had seen better decades. But it held air. She'll do.
She'll absolutely do.
July got the jack positioned and started cranking. And that's when Gus heard the sound from the woods. It started as a feeling before it was a sound. Gus had felt this feeling once before, when he had wandered into what he thought was a public restroom in Corsicana, and found himself standing in somebody's personal laundry room, and the person whose laundry room it was had been standing right there looking at him. That same fundamental wrongness, that same sense of, this is not how this is supposed to be. Then the sound resolved itself into something identifiable, something large moving through the brush on the left side of the road, something that moved in a slow, deliberate way, like it wasn't frightened of the noise it was making, like it didn't need to be quiet.
July?
Almost got it, said July, cranking the jack.
July?
Give me a second. The jack's...
July!
July stopped cranking. He looked up at Gus's face, which in the dying flashlight was the color of old newspaper, and followed his friend's gaze to the tree line on the left. There was something standing there. It was man-shaped. That was the first thing. Man-shaped in the way that a scarecrow is man-shaped. It had the right number of limbs arranged in roughly the right configuration, but something about the proportions was off in a way that July's brain kept sliding away from. It was tall, 7 feet, maybe more, and standing at the very edge of where the headlights reached, so that it was half in yellow light and half in darkness, which meant you couldn't get a complete picture of it no matter how hard you looked. It was completely still. It was looking at them. "What," said July, very quietly, "is that?"
I don't know.
"Is that a person?"
That is not a shape that a person makes.
"People come in lots of shapes, Gus."
Not that shape.
July stood up slowly from behind the tire, keeping his eyes on the thing at the tree line. It didn't move. It just stood there at the edge of the light, watching them with a patience that felt ancient and geological and deeply, profoundly unhurried. "Has it got eyes?"
I think so. I think it does.
"Are they?"
Don't ask me if they're glowing. July, please, because I am already having a really significant emotional response to this situation.
"They're a little bit glowing." Gus made a sound. "Just a little bit," said July. "Like a pale kind of glow, like a bioluminescence."
That doesn't make it better.
"I know." The thing at the tree line tilted its head. slowly, at an odd angle that was slightly too far for a human neck, like something that had seen heads tilt and was recreating the gesture from memory. Both men took a step backwards, which put them both against the side of the truck. "Okay," said July. "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I am going to finish changing this tire. You're going to stand here with the flashlight."
This flashlight's almost dead.
"Well, don't tell it that."
What is it?
"Hell, I don't know.
Should we get in the truck?
If we get in the truck, we can't change the goddamn tire."
If we don't get in the truck, maybe that thing eats us.
"It's not gonna eat us."
How do you know?
"'Cause," said July with the confidence of a man whose logic was held together with nothing but stubbornness, "we ain't done nothing to it."
It don't look like the kind of thing that requires a reason.
As if on cue, the thing took one step out of the tree line. Its foot, if it was a foot, came down on the asphalt with a sound that was wrong, and the leg it moved was long, disproportionately long, and July felt his entire central nervous system try to resign.
Change the tire faster.
"I'm changing it as fast as..."
Faster than that.
July dropped back down to the jack and started cranking with a speed and focus he had never previously brought to any mechanical task in his life. The jack rose. The truck rose. He grabbed the destroyed tire with both hands and yanked it off, and it hit the asphalt with a hollow clang, and the thing at the edge of the light moved again. 2 steps this time, and now it was fully in the headlight beam, which was almost worse than not seeing it fully, because now July could see the texture of its skin, wrong, the shape of its hands, too many, and the expression on its face, if face was even the right word for what it had. It was smiling. It was smiling with a mouth that was too wide and too full of teeth, with a happiness that had nothing human in it.
July,
said Gus in a very calm, very careful voice.
July, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to hear it.
But tell me fast, said July, wrestling the spare onto the bolts with shaking hands.
I'm going to eat so many Cool Ranch Doritos when we get out of this. I am going to eat them for the rest of my life. I'm going to eat them every single day as long as I'm alive, and I'm going to think about this moment every single time, and I am going to be grateful, July. I am going to be genuinely grateful.
Well, that's good, said July. That is a healthy attitude to have. Hand me the lug nuts.
Where are the lug nuts?
I put them on the ground next to... Don't step on the lug nuts.
Well, I found them with my foot.
How many did you knock away?
Most of them.
July looked up. The creature was now approximately 30 feet away, which was 30 feet closer than July wanted any 7-foot smiling impossible thing to be. It had stopped moving again. It was watching them with enormous patience, like it had done this before. Find the lug nuts, said July.
It's dark.
Use the flashlight.
Flashlight's dead.
Use your fucking phone then. A frantic pattern of pockets.
I left my phone in the truck.
Get it.
That thing is between me and the door.
July looked up again. The thing was not, in fact, between Gus and the passenger door. It was still on July's side of the truck, between him and the tree line, which meant the passenger door was clear. Go around the fucking front. Gus moved, fast for a large man in boots, circling around the hood of the truck. July kept his eyes on the creature, because somehow having eyes on it made it feel slightly more manageable, like knowing exactly where a spider is versus not knowing where it went. The creature watched Gus move. It turned its head to follow him, too far, and then turned back to July. It took another step. Lug nuts!
Working on it.
A scrambling sound.
I see them. I see some of them.
How many?
4. I've got 4.
I need 5.
I can see where one went. It rolled under the... I got it. 5. I got 5.
Throw 'em over.
Throw them? July, they'll...
Gus!
A pause.
Then a handful of lug nuts sailed over the top of the truck cab and rained down on July and the road around them in a glittering little shower. Every single one of them, said July, feeling around on the ground while not taking his eyes off the creature.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. He found 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. I've got 4. 4 will hold for now. He spun them on as fast as his hands would work, which was not as fast as he wanted, but significantly faster than usual. The creature took another step, 20 feet. It made a sound. It was the first sound it had made, and it was the sound of nothing July could identify. Something that existed in a register that made his back teeth ache and his eyes water.
What did it say?
Gus hissed from the other side of the truck. I don't fucking know.
Was it a question? It felt like a question.
I don't speak whatever that is.
Say something back.
What?
Communicate. Animals respond to... Just say something.
July, flat on the ground with lug nuts in one hand and a tire iron in the other, looked directly at the massive, smiling, wrongly shaped thing standing 20 feet away in his headlights, and said, Hey, buddy. Yeah, we're just changing a tire. We don't want any trouble. We're heading to the store. Pap's Drive-In in Belmead. They got Cool Ranch Doritos, blue bag. He paused. They may have whatever you need. I don't know your situation. The creature stopped moving. It tilted its head the other way now, still looking at him.
Did that work?
I don't fucking know, said July. He took the tire iron and tightened the lug nuts with quick, expert strokes. Lower the truck.
How?
Other side of the jack. There's a relief valve. More scrambling from Gus.
This thing?
That thing. The truck settled. The spare tire took the weight. It held. It held beautifully, gloriously. Bless its ancient heart, it held. July stood up. He grabbed the destroyed tire by the rim, took 3 steps and hurled it at the tree line to the right, opposite the creature, as a distraction. It hit the brush with a crashing noise, and the creature's head whipped toward the sound fast, too fast. Get in the truck, July said, walking at a deliberate, measured pace toward the driver's door.
I'm already in the truck,
said Gus, who had been in the truck for approximately 4 seconds. July got in, closed the door, started the engine, which fired first try. God bless you, old girl. God bless every one of your 247,000 miles. He put it in drive. He looked in the rearview mirror. The creature was standing in the road behind them, watching them go, still smiling, one hand raised in what might have been a wave, or might have been something else entirely. He drove for a solid 2 minutes without either of them saying anything. The truck moved through the dark with the slightly wobbling, uncertain quality of a vehicle wearing a donut spare, the steering a little loose. The gospel station came back.
And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
That one hit different.
Oh yeah. A pause. Then,
What was that?
I don't know.
Have you ever seen anything like that before?
Have I ever seen a 7-foot smiling thing with the wrong number of fingers and glowing eyes standing in the middle of a back road at 10:30 at night? July considered this carefully, as though it deserved genuine deliberation. No, Gus, that was a new one.
It was watching us real specifically.
It was.
Like it was interested. Like we were doing something it found, I don't know, compelling.
Changing a tire. said July. Maybe it's never seen someone change a tire. Gus thought about this.
You think it was just curious?
I think I have no idea what it was doing, and I've decided for the purposes of my own continued ability to function that it was curious and means us no harm and was just out for a walk.
That's a real generous reading of the situation.
It's the only reading I can emotionally afford right now. Gus nodded slowly. He stared at the road ahead. Then he said very carefully,
July, we're still going to the store, right?
July looked at him.
'Cause,
Gus continued,
we've come this far, and we've been through something tonight, and I feel like those Doritos they become something bigger now. You know what I mean? They were just chips when we left. Now they represent something.
Survival, said July.
Yeah, that's it.
Getting the Doritos is proof we made it.
Exactly.
Gus's voice was thick with something genuine.
If we go home without those Doritos, then that thing back there wins.
July was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Gus, I want you to know that is the most profound thing you have ever said to me in the 23 years that I've known you.
I've had a big night.
You've had a very big night.
I'm still getting the Mountain Dew, too. The 42 ounce.
Brother, said July, you get 2. Pap's Drive-In in Belmead was exactly the same as it always was, which at this particular moment in time felt like the most beautiful thing July had ever witnessed in his life. The big glowing sign, the yellow-white light blazing out of the windows, the parking lot mostly empty this late, just a few cars scattered around. July parked crooked across 2 spaces because he always parked crooked across 2 spaces, and he wasn't going to change now just because of extenuating circumstances. They sat in the truck for a second, just looking at the store.
Look at it,
said Gus softly. Yep, I'm looking at it.
All that light.
All that beautiful fluorescent corporate light.
Nothing wrong-shaped in there.
Nothing wrong-shaped. Nothing with too many fingers. July paused. Probably. Gus gave him a sharp look. Definitely not, July corrected. They got out of the truck and walked across the parking lot and through the automatic doors, which slid open with a welcoming whoosh of cold air conditioning that hit them like a blessing. The store was almost empty. Only a man of indeterminate age standing in the beef jerky aisle, staring at the packages with the 1,000-yard stare of the chronically indecisive. The cashier was at the register and looked up when they came in with the mild curiosity of someone who had been working the late shift long enough that nothing surprised her anymore. July looked down at himself. He was covered in road dirt. His shirt had a long streak of grease across it. His hair, which was not managed under the best of circumstances, had achieved something truly special. Gus was still in his Dale Earnhardt Jr. sleep shirt. Neither of them cared. They walked with purpose. They walked with the quiet dignity of men who had faced something in the dark and come out the other side, and were now going to collect what was owed to them by the universe. July led them down the snack aisle with the certainty of a man who knew exactly where the Doritos lived. 3rd shelf from the top, right side, just past the Funyuns. They were there. They had arrived. The blue bags. Cool Ranch Doritos. July reached out and took one. Then he took a second one. Then, after a moment's consideration, he took a 3rd, because tonight was a different kind of night, and the old rules didn't apply. He held them to his chest like they were his children. Got 'em. Gus, beside him, reached past July and took 2 bags for himself. He cradled them in his arms. His eyes were wet, which he would later attribute to allergies. July would graciously accept this explanation.
We got 'em.
We got 'em. They stood in the snack aisle of Pap's Drive-In at 11:03 in the evening. Two dirt-covered men holding armloads of Cool Ranch Doritos. Mountain Dew?
Mountain Dew.
They sat in the parking lot. The engine was off. The radio was silent. July tore open a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos. The sound it made was glorious. The specific, perfect polymer crinkle followed by the immediate bloom of smell. Cool, tangy, herbaceous, a little funky in the best possible way. The smell of every road trip and late night and weekend afternoon he had ever had. He reached in and got a chip. He ate it. He closed his eyes.
Well?
July chewed slowly. He considered. It tastes like we made it. Gus opened his own bag. He ate a chip.
We made it.
They ate in comfortable silence for a little while. The Mountain Dews were cracked open. The stars came out further to the south. A freight train went by somewhere distant, its horn low and mournful, and oddly comforting.
We gotta go back through there to get home,
said Gus after a while. July stopped chewing for a second. Then he resumed. Yep.
Same road.
Same road.
You think it's still out there?
July thought about the creature, the way it had watched them, the way it had tilted its head, processing them. Probably, said Gus. He ate another Dorito.
You know what I think?
What?
I think we go back through there, and we got our chips, and we got our Mountain Dews, and whatever that thing is, it can see us, and it can know that it did not stop us. We went to El Dorito, and we came back.
July stared at him for a long moment. El Dorito?
That's what I'm calling it. The store. The quest. All of it.
You're calling our trip to Pap's Drive-In in Belle Meade El Dorito?
I'm calling the whole evening El Dorito. The woods, the blowout, the thing, getting back in the truck, making it here, these chips.
He held one up and looked at it in the parking lot light.
This is El Dorito, the legendary horde. We found it.
July looked at the chip. He looked at Gus. He looked out at the southern sky where the stars were doing their enormous, indifferent, timeless thing. El Dorito.
Damn right. We should tell people about tonight.
Nobody's gonna believe us.
I know.
They'll think we made it up.
I know.
Or that we were drinking.
I had one warm bush before we left, which I consumed over a course of 45 minutes, so technically I was barely...
Nobody's gonna believe us, Gus.
I know. I know they're not.
He was quiet for a moment.
That's all right. We know.
We know. They took County Road 127 back through the dark. July drove at exactly 40 miles per hour. Not because of the spare, though that was a factor, but because there was a bag of Doritos open in the cab and he didn't want to spill them on the floor. Gus was on his second Mountain Dew because he had finished the first one in the parking lot while still technically in the store's line, and he had gone back in to replace it, explaining to the mildly alarmed cashier that he was refueling after an ordeal, which she had accepted without comment because it was late and she had seen things. The headlights cut the dark. The trees stood close on both sides. They drove past a spot where the tire had blown. July knew it by the shape of the road, by a particular bend in the tree line. He could see in the sweep of his headlights a few shreds of tire rubber still on the asphalt. No creature at the tree line, nothing in the road, nothing at the edge of the light.
It's gone.
Seems like.
Or it's further back in the trees.
Could be.
Or it moved to a different spot.
Also possible.
Or it's not gone at all and it's somewhere we can't see.
Gus?
Yeah?
Eat your goddamn chips. A pause. The sound of a bag crinkling.
Yeah, okay.
The dirt track finally appeared ahead. July turned onto it. The truck bounced and swayed. The trees closed in. Home was about a mile up.
July?
What?
Same time next week?
July drove in silence for a moment. I might get the tires replaced first.
Smart.
And a better flashlight.
Definitely.
And maybe some kind of, I don't know, deterrent.
What kind of deterrent works on that?
I'm thinking about it.
Well, think faster.
The porch lights of their 2 cabins appeared through the trees ahead, warm and yellow and ordinary, the most welcome thing July had ever seen. He pulled up and cut the engine, and they sat for a second, listening to the woods settle around them, the crickets and the frogs and the wind and the oaks, and nothing else, nothing that didn't belong. July finished his Dorito. He folded the bag carefully. He'd eat the rest tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.
He opened his door, then paused.
Hey, July?
Yeah?
El Dorito.
July smiled. El Dorito. Gus got out. July heard his friend's porch steps creak, his front door open, and the muffled sound of the television flickering on, and then quiet. July sat in the truck for another minute. He looked out at the tree line. The woods were very still. Something blinked out there, pale and brief, like a lantern turning on and off. Or fireflies. Probably fireflies. July got out of his truck and went inside and went to bed. When he finally fell asleep, he dreamed of nothing at all. And in the morning, there was a half bag of Cool Ranch Doritos on his kitchen table waiting for him. The sun was up and the birds were going, and the world was ordinary and fine, and everything in it was exactly the right shape. He ate the chips for breakfast. They were perfect. And that was The Road to El Dorito by yours truly. A good reminder to follow your dreams and also keep track of those lug nuts. They have a tendency to get away from you.
And do old Drew Blood a favor, would you? Subscribe to his podcast wherever you do your listening and leave him a 5-star review and a kind word, even if you're listening on YouTube. He needs soldiers on all fronts to win this battle, and he appreciates it. To hear a premium ad-free edition of tonight's and all the other episodes, visit simplyscarypodcast.com today and click Patrons in the upper menu. You'll find yourself at chillingtalesfordarknights.com, where you can become a patron for as little as $5 per month and get access to their entire audio archive, all ad-free and available to download or stream. Thank you for your time and for supporting our sponsors. When you support our sponsors, you support this show. If you happen to use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, you can follow and subscribe to Chillin' Tales for Dark Nights there, where you'll get all the latest updates and new releases and have the chance to interact with them each and every week. Oh, and you can find Drew Blood on Facebook and Instagram, and sometimes Twitter. The Drew Blood's Dark Tales podcast is accepting submissions, friend. If you've got a story or two you'd like to be featured on the show, send it to drewbloodhorror@gmail.com. If selected, you'll get the full treatment, 10 bananas.
Well, I'm afraid this is where we part ways, at least till next week. So grab a drink for the road, friend. May the wind be at your back, and may the road rise up to meet you, and all that happy horse shit. Let me know in the comments what you think of Gus and July. If you enjoyed them, we'll see if they can come back for another visit. And until next time, friends, go fuck yourselves. Good night, y'all.